Hey, this is Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm thrilled to be joined by writer, actress, producer, and director Kristina Denton. Kristina has worn a lot of hats in the industry, and her latest project is an action thriller, Hollywood Grit, which she wrote and produced. The film hits select theaters on August 22nd and features a star-studded cast with Max Martini, Tyrese Gibson, Patrick Duffy, and Linda Purl. Beyond the movie, Kristina is also releasing a new memoir, You Don't Know Dick, about her time working in an erectile dysfunction clinic. We talk about her journey in front of and behind the camera, what it's like building a career in Hollywood, and how she brings her stories to life. I had a fantastic time chatting with her, and I think you'll really enjoy this one. Let's get to it.
Nice to meet you, though, Les.
So nice to meet you. I really appreciate your patience with all of that.
Of course.
Just saying, I just finished rewatching I've watched the trailer a couple of times now for Hollywood Grit. And so I was excited to discuss the project, what it was like for you coming up with it, and now seeing people say things that you've just imagined once in your head. Also, crime thrillers, I think they're right up everybody's alley, but they're dead. I just love that Hollywood thing going.
I know.
So what was the gestation of what was the start of the project for you, and how did it get here?
Yeah, it's super interesting. I feel like nowadays maybe projects have a lot of different ways of starting, but I feel like traditionally there's a script that exists. And then you go find money, and then you find actor. You do the whole like cute little film process that's pretty traditional. This was not that at all. I was approached by the director, who is my co-writer. We have done a lot of projects together as co-writers, and one produced project that was a pilot. It hasn't lived out in the world, but we did do a pilot with a similar team, the same executive producer. And so I was approached with, hey, we have some money. We want to make something in LA. We've got a few actors that we want to involve, and that's what we got. And I'm kind of like, cool, amazing. What's the story? And they're like, that's for,
Well, you should ask.
So I know. And I have shared this story with the actress herself. So I was told there was going to be a girl they wanted to have in it who was a singer. And I said, well, is she an actor? And they said, well, we don't know, but she's a singer. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to have to get her kidnapped, because I can't rely on the fact that she might not have acting jobs. This is how sorry, my dramatic camera. This is how these things like go, right? So I was given these puzzle pieces. We ended up researching, this is going to be the director's first feature. And he's like, we really want to try to make money back. What we know it should be, he's very into action, right? Whether it's action comedy, action drama, action thriller. And so we ultimately landed on action thriller. The noir element of it didn't really come in until I started writing this thing. And again, I had this singer, and I said, well, I love singing. I sang with my dad growing up. That's a very deep part of my life. And I was a performer as a dancer, so I decided to set the entire thing around this Hollywood nightclub and come up with this story about an estranged father whose daughter suddenly goes missing, and he feels like it's his fault, and he has to go and try to track her down. So that's really how the idea was put together, through, these existing elements influencing me to come up with a story that fit those elements. And what was so cool about it, as soon as we got the project, the script kind of written, is when we approached Max. Max is a friend of our directors, but he didn't know about the movie. So we wrote this for him without him knowing it was happening, and hoping he would love it. And he did. He fell in love with it. It's such a fun character for him. And the thing about Ryan and I is we really don't know how to leave comedic elements out of what we write, no matter what the genre. So it gave him something to really chew on as like this full character. Mm-hmm. And then, the casting director we had, Dustin Blackburn, was getting this incredible reception on people really wanting to be a part of the project. So we were not expecting that when we had to fill in some of the other roles. And so it was just what we started as this small thing became this really big independent. Almost, see, I have a puppy over here. Yeah, I love it. The cat moved. You gotta go.
I have a cat that's just like, I'll help.
like workplace, I know, right? Like hazards. Yeah, so it was just a really interesting kind of, I don't want to say backwards, but just a unique way to have a story created out of elements that were already in place. Yeah.
That's great. And I can imagine it being fun to at least know a few of the voices that you're writing for. Or
you know what?
like,
That's my favorite. I have to say, I've done that a number of times in other projects where I get to write for actors that I know, friends that I know, and just to be able to write in the cadence and the kind of mannerisms and the quirks and like, it's actually I had a business where I wrote scenes for actors for the reels. Like that I did that for years, and I'd sit with actors and and I'd work with these real businesses that are in LA, and I got really good at sitting with an actor and kind of almost like doing their type or their branding in a meeting together and coming up with 3 different scenes that would help really showcase their range. And it for me it made me, I don't know if it made me more observational or more kind of in tune with how to really elevate their assets. I don't know, but it's something I got in the rhythm of doing for a few years that I definitely implement when I'm doing longer form stuff. Yeah.
I think that's really neat. I was already thinking that you probably had some insight into maybe aspects of performing, singing, things that not every writer has.
Right.
That you might know when you write something down of like, that's going to be a weird transition for that actor. Come on.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of, I'd also seen that you have a new memoir coming out, which just looked absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah.
So it's called You Don't Know Dick. Could you tell me a little bit about it in your own words? It just looks like a crazy experience with a story that I shouldn't try to spoil. You should.
No, please. No, it's I'm sure you've read, the definitely the gist of it, but it's just this crazy year of my life that I cover. And it's one of those stories that as it was happening, my brain, because again, I didn't come to LA to be a dick fixer. I came to be an actor and a writer, but I found myself in these odd day jobs all the time. And I helped open this clinic for my friends. It was like down the street from my house. We all worked out together at CrossFit, and they're like, oh, like, we know you're an actor, but come. And I'm like, all right, like, I have a health and fitness background. Like, sure. I was an office manager. And then 3 months in, they were very concerned they weren't going to make enough money to set themselves apart in this, the wellness space in LA, because there's basically an anti-aging clinic on every corner, right? So then the owner, who is the husband of the duo, he was hearing a Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan was talking about this service. I think Ben Greenfield was on the podcast or something. And so he comes in with his eyes all sparkling. Oh my gosh, I found the solution. And I'm like sitting there and like folding towels, and I'm like, huh? And he's like, we're going to go get certified because you're our only employee and you're going to do this. And I said, did you just say that I'm going to be a dick fixer? Because that, for my comedy brain, is hilarious. Right. So my first impulse and sort of into this world was, okay, this is going to be such a funny story. I cannot wait to tell people that I'm doing right. So I came at it from this comedic lens. And my dad died kind of right after I got certified, which we knew was coming. He had cancer. It was a long time coming, but still the finality of loss of your father, it's like, whoa. And I almost used the clinic when I got back as this avoidance tactic, right? Let me dive into dicks so I don't have to feel. I mean, that's what we do. We avoid feeling and do something crazy. So I just dove into it. And again, first few months, very funny, all these funny stories. I'm writing things in my notes. Like, I'm going to write a comedy about this. I ended up writing a workplace comedy just to kind of like feel it out about the whole anti-aging world. And then as I got more into the job, I started realizing what I was learning about men and their vulnerability and their shame and how complex they are and deeply beautiful and pained, just like women. They just can't show it. And so there's this, it's almost like this repressed humanity in them that just doesn't allow itself to be expressed. And I was seeing it firsthand, literally, with their broken penises in my hand, right? Because it's the service where you literally are on the shaft and all around. So it's like, it's so vulnerable. It's so intimate. And because I was I'm an actor and I'm an artist, and I could kind of shift my energy to each person I was working with, they started to feel really safe. They started to open up to me. I'm hearing about divorces and being widows and just all these different things. And so I was like, wait a second. The whole world is bastardizing men with the Me Too movement, which was currently going on when I was doing the job. And I'm seeing a different side of them. We have to talk about this. So I started feeling this kind of like, I was like, I feel compelled to champion men and really tell people who they are and be their hero, because this isn't fair. And yes, there's validity to that movement, but also, right. So I didn't really know what that meant. And as I got out of the job, I only did it for only a year, hundreds and hundreds of penises later. It was plenty of penis. I didn't realize that I was actually, in the insight that these men were providing to me in their stories was actually giving me a ton of insight into my father, what he struggled with, why he was an alcoholic, why he was verbally abusive, why he was in so much pain and ultimately died of cancer. And it, as much as we had this very difficult relationship, it helped me forgive him. Mm-hmm. So I attribute this radical year of being in a dick clinic and being a dick fixer to helping me heal the relationship with my father after he died. Yeah.
I could see, for all the easy jokes aside, it is a window into an odd space of vulnerability for men where they're not wanting. I mean, not like a vulnerable space where everybody's happy to be, but like nobody probably wants. Right. I don't know that anybody was like, Tuesday is the day, I'm doing it. It's good.
Can't wait. Yeah.
I could see that being, and like you said, the this much of a story is a hilarious joke, and then you tell a little bit more and it starts to become therapy processing.
Yeah.
And the longer you sit with that job, I could see it going from, okay, this is hilarious workplace stories, to no, there's humanity here. These guys are
there's a
going
whole
through
thing. It. Yeah. And so I wrote it. I ended up writing a pilot. We shopped it around 2022. Then the showrunner I joined forces with, who was a male, because I was like, I need a male perspective on this if I'm going to do this right. Like, I need both of us have to bring in our perspectives. And then he got pulled away to a show, the writer's strike. So I ended up going, I need to write a book. I think I need to do the book first. I've never done this. It terrifies me, which is exactly why I have to do it. And so, I was fortunate enough to join forces with Storyteller Media a few months ago, and it came out of me very quickly. We've been adjusting it, perfecting it. It's almost ready. And we're hoping for a midwinter, I guess, late winter release sometime early 2026. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
It sounds like a great book.
Yeah. Thank you.
In terms of your own acting resume and moving out to, like you said, you didn't move out to LA to fix dicks. What did you think your acting journey was going to be, or your showbiz journey was going to be, when you showed up fresh faced versus hitting the ground and really realizing what looking like being a professional actually looks like?
That's a great question. I think, I told my mother I wanted to be an actress when I was 2 years old, apparently, according to her. She says it to this day. I have no idea what I knew about acting then, but I think there was just something about movies and performing, and, I danced, I did all these things. So I carry this dream. Really, if I think about what it was wanting to be a part of a process that helped people feel less alone and feel seen, because that's what TV did for me, right? As a kid, I would be like bullied or feel outcast, and I watch these shows and I go, that's me. Like, I am DJ Tanner on Full House, right? Or whatever, right? So it made me feel like, I was less alone. And I just knew there was this thing in me that said, I have to be a part of that process and help other people feel this way. And so even though my college took me elsewhere, as soon as I was done, the day I moved to LA, and I honestly, I didn't know anything and I didn't know anyone. So I had nobody to sort of like hold my hand through the process. And this is before, social media was really a thing. It was like 2007, 2008 when I moved to LA, and I dove into an acting school. And I remember the first day of acting school, my teacher said, all right, guys, you're here, you made it, you're in LA. I just have to say, first and foremost, if you can see yourself doing anything else, go do it. And I was like, what? He's like, because this is the worst thing you're ever going to do with your life. And I was like hardest, most, difficult journey. And I was like, oh no, I'm screwed, because I've never had a plan B, and there was never a backup story to my life. And I think that's what has kept me here, because certainly I had no idea how much business I needed to understand, and marketing. And I advise actors nowadays, I'm like, listen, if you are going to go study acting in college, great, but get a business or a marketing minor, because you need to understand that you are a product and you are a business. And if you can try to separate yourself from this beautiful artistic, just like passion, and be like, okay, great, if that's all it is, go do community theater, right? But if you want to have an actual career where you're making money, you're working as an actor and you're working or whatever, writer, you have to understand the business. And that's something that came so much later for me. It came in little pieces here and there, but acting school doesn't offer that, right? And so fortunately, lately, they've been starting to offer in the last like 5, maybe 10 years, business classes for actors and for creatives so that they can learn to navigate. How do you get an agent? How do you get, market yourself? How do you know even what type you are? So those things are all so difficult when you are the product. You don't have the perspective on how the industry sees you and where you fit in the grander scheme of things, because you're just one piece of the puzzle as an actor to make a project, right? So that was a big wake-up call for me, is just how much I didn't know about how to get work and find, and then relationship building and maintaining. And, when you're shy and you're just so excited to be here and you're green, and it's like, you just say like, okay, and yes to everything. And I didn't have the discernment that I have now, where if I read a script, I'm like, absolutely not. You know what I mean? Like, back then it was just like grateful to work at all. So, I think it was incredibly sobering for me to come here and realize just how the sort of, and I still feel at times, I still feel like an outsider, even though I've worked, at the studio level here and there and done project, I still feel like I'm still learning and figuring it out, especially because it's an incredibly evolving industry, especially now, right? Like we're like, where do are we all just content creators now? Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like,
no, it would be one thing to learn the game if the game stayed consistent, but
that's it. Yeah. So I think you have to be so flexible, understanding that technology is evolving so quickly and rapidly that I think we're all sort of in this weird trying to find our footing and hold on to, like, I know there's this big push to kind of pull projects back to LA, and they're all fighting for that. And I think it's really great, but man, it's hard to know how to keep up with it. I feel like kids today are not looking at movie stars or TV stars the way that they're now looking at influencers, or even like thought leader podcasters and like Mr. Beast. And like, it's just, there's such a different world of storytelling out there now, so it's learning, like adjusting and understanding, like, where do you fit amongst that kind of evolving landscape is can be very challenging. But I think part of our job as artists is to stay open-minded and open-hearted and not judge, and just kind of, let things like move through us. And so that's what I'm trying to do the best that I can. It's hard. Yeah.
And that open-mindedness isn't entirely different than what you have always had to do, because you could have been like, no, we're not going to come up with a script because you have some friends. I've written a script, and then you're
this is my thing.
This is how we're going to do it, because that's the only way that good art and we know that's not true.
Right? No.
Obviously,
I would love to be that much of a purist, but like, come on, you know what I mean? Like,
or directors writing to troops, or you look at the Nolans and the Wes Andersons and such, that like, no, David Mamet back. I know I've got the guys that can say my words.
Dreams.
Let's just not. There's a set of actors that can say Deadwood and not trip over it.
That's right.
We're just going to stick with them. Well, I can't wait to see Hollywood Grit. It comes out August 22nd. Looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I think folks are going to have a blast with it. It's got that. It's got that LA Confidential style. I think we've been getting some vibe the last few years. So.
And I think that really Ryan was, he is quite, it's funny, he's so much more of a visionary, like he's a visual storyteller, which is why he's a director. And so the fact that I had this idea for this world, and then he was like, oh, we're going to make this noir. We have to do a love letter to LA. We have to make all these elements come together. And then I have to just mention this, because I feel like it's one of the coolest elements in the whole project, is that we have all original music. And the original music for me, especially in this genre, is so incredibly cool, because we put this thing together so fast. I didn't get to meet the musicians till we were on set. And they're like, we read your script and we were so inspired. We wrote all this music. And so just for me as the like writer that I inspired, these whole, I was like, oh my God. So all the original music is going to be released as a soundtrack and then performed at our premiere party. Like, for me, being able to, one of the things I've always loved about producing, writing as well, is that it gives all of these other artists opportunity to work and showcase their talents. And so for me, I'm like, look, if it starts with a script, I'll write a script, here, go, like launch yourself, so it just feels, I just have a lot of like appreciation for what they did with this script and how they turned it into, because I think music arguably can tell you how to feel about a movie, right? Like, we change the music, we change the movie.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, so that's a really cool element to all of this for this project.
I can't remember what class some professor that said a quote of screenplay is an invitation to collaborate. Like, screenplay is not there's no screenplay in the world, no matter how good, that's a finished piece of art. It's an invitation for 200 other people to jump and give their best.
Exactly. It's so true. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
Absolutely.
Can't wait to see the movie. Check out the book. Should both.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. It was great talking with you. You have great questions. Super fun to just kind of chat about industry stuff like that. So you get it, and I like that.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.